Okay, the next step after you've put on the liquid white is to apply some blue. And usually when you paint with Bob, he's got all of his paints already on this thing, right? It's all set up already. I'm kind of a put the paint where I need it as I go kind of person. And part of the reason why is because, I don't know, I'm messy. So I find it a little easier to clean up if I don't put paint on there that I'm not going to end up using. So you tap the color, use the same brush that you used to put the liquid white on, and then you tap the brush into the paint to get the color onto the paint and try to have it be like nice and even, not too thick, not too dark in any area. And you don't really need a lot of paint on the brush when you're making a nice light sky. You don't want the paint to go on too thick, and you want the darker area to be in the upper corners. So again, it's crisscross strokes, just like it was when you put the liquid white on in the first place. And I'm just using the top corner of the brush right now. I'm starting in the upper corner, and it's going to be a little darker up there than it is in the middle or the side. And then as I do this, I'm leaving areas that are lighter and having some areas that are darker. So it's going to almost look like there's already clouds up there in some places. And I'm just doing sky right now. I'll do some water down here too in a second. But just for the sake of, I don't know, these are all mountains. Maybe I shouldn't even put the water in. Maybe we should just do mountains to keep it consistent with what's already there. I don't know. It's so fun to do water. Well, I'll decide that later. But I am gonna come back up here and get a clean, dry brush. And I don't have to use a Fillings brush because this is a pretty big, a pretty small canvas. So I only just use a 1-inch brush. But I'm having trouble finding 1-inch brushes. So I will blend. And now, so to blend, I'm just kind of going back and forth over the area that I put the paint on. And what I want, or what the goal is, to not have a lot of brush strokes, and also to have like kind of a smooth looking sky where there's darker areas that blend into lighter areas. And you still want to have light areas and dark areas, but you just want it to look kind of like smooth and neat and kind of natural. So that's the goal. And almost getting blue over here. So I probably would be better on with a 1-inch brush on this, but oh well. All right, so there's a sky. And then we're gonna put some clouds over the sky. So I don't know, are we gonna do water or not? Water's so much fun. So the way we do water is, there's more than one way, but one way to do water is you can take your blue that's already up there and add a tiny little bit of green to it. And you want to use the phthalo green, not the sap green. That's the watercolor. That looks good. You know what? One thing that we learned about Bob's painting style is that when he did his show, he already knew what he was going to paint. So when he would say, oh, I don't know, maybe there's, when he'd say stuff like that, he was acting. He was an actor because he knew exactly what he was going to do. So for the water, you take a straight stroke across and you go from the outside in. So the darker paint's on the outer edge and it gets a little lighter as it comes in. And then as you go across, you leave a little bit of lighter area for the sheen of the water, for where the light is reflecting where the sun's hitting it. Okay, so as you come up, you get a little lighter. And as you get over there, you sort of lift the brush before you get into the middle area, because you don't want to be too heavy-handed. I think that's enough for now. There's just a tiny little space to paint on. So, and then you can blend. And when you blend, you go all the way across, and you can bring some of the blue over into the lighter area to make it look like it's all one body of water. And the look you're going for is very glassy. You know, like you're gonna go water ski on this. So yeah, I'm very messy. I'm very messy when I do this. Okay, so I'm gonna clean up another mess I just now made. Right over here, I got some blue on this. I don't want that blue there. So I just have this clean brush that when I was doing the liquid white video, I was getting a bunch of liquid white over there. Okay, so now clouds. Now you can do clouds with any brush. The fan brush is probably the most commonly used brush for clouds. That's a fan brush, but you can use a 2-inch brush. You can use any brush, really. But you're gonna take, so that other tub was liquid white. Now we've got titanium white. And you're gonna put some of that on your palette. And one thing I learned at the training that I went to is that it's okay to take a long time to do this. Bob would paint, you know, in like 35 or 40 minutes. But in the trainings, we would spend like a whole day on one painting. And we were not rushing. We were really trying to take our time with it. Okay, so I'm gonna put some of this thicker than titanium white paint on my palette. And again, usually you put it on before, but I don't know what it is about how I do things. Sometimes I'm not really very normal. But you get the brush, you get your fan brush, dip it in the paint. You can wiggle it a little bit, but you just want a lot of paint on the brush. Thick paint on the brush. And then you're gonna take it over here, press it in, and then kind of lift in a curl motion. Press it in again, lift in a curl motion. Press in, curl. And you're letting the paint get off of the brush in a way that leaves some white paint there. And as you do that, you're gonna get blue on here. And then if you start turning it over, it's gonna get blue and blue and blue. Now, I don't really like the shape of those clouds right now. And this is what I found a lot in this class, is it's not easy to get that cool looking shape that Bob gets on the first try. So sometimes it's like a trial and error thing, and you just gotta keep trying and keep trying. And sometimes you're gonna have more error than trial. If that makes any sense at all. Okay, so now I've got this light bluish color on here. And now I'm gonna leave those white shapes. Now those aren't pretty at all, those look really yucky, but I'm gonna try to fix that. So then, I'm gonna start putting more little circle shapes here before I bring my blender brush. So what they always say is the outer edge is the most important part of this step. So you don't want to touch the outer edge, but you want to start blending a little bit. So I'm still not very happy with those clouds right now. Let me get some more wider paint and see if I could do a better job on getting the edge on a couple of these. Get a better edge. Maybe up here yeah, I like that a little better. See, a little more of a nice little edge to it. I'll try down here some more. Bob's clouds are just amazing, and Nick is really good at making amazing Bob clouds. Nick is the guy who taught me at the training. Okay, so I'm not crazy about my clouds, but they're clouds. So moving on. And that's one thing you kind of like start to learn as you do this is like every time you paint in this style, different things are going to happen. And if you fight it and overly analyze it and try to fix it and make it perfect, you're going to end up kind of unhappy with life. So instead, I'm making a video and I'm like, oh man, people watch this, they're going to not like my clouds. Well, okay. If you don't like them, that's okay. I don't particularly love them, but they're clouds anyways. Okay, so what I was doing is I was taking the 2-inch brush and I was angling it down and I'm hitting the top corner. So whatever your edge is, you want the edge to be beautiful, of course. You want it to be a nice, pretty edge. But whatever it ends up being, you want that edge to stay pretty white. You don't want it to, I'm gonna shut this garage door. You don't want to, when you're blending, you don't want to come up over and touch the white. You only want to touch the bottom part. So that's what you're doing. And you're only doing the top corner. You're not doing the whole brush. You're not doing the bottom. It's just the top corner. It's just little circle motions, blending it out. Okay, and there's 2 more steps, but I'm not going to do that yet because I want to put some more. Let's just see if I can get some better edges on some of these clouds. Just because I'm in a fighting mood. All right, so maybe I'll put a couple up there, or maybe I'll just go down here. I don't know. Let's see. Let's just go. Let's go. There, that's a little better. Now, there's something important that I didn't mention because I forgot, is the honest truth. And that's the angle that you're holding this thing matters. When you're hitting it, if it's up, the clouds are going to turn out a certain way. If it's down, the clouds are going to turn a certain way. And the same thing is true when you're doing trees. Okay, so yeah, I like that edge a little bit more. Blend now. Blend. Just the top corner. Okay, and now this next thing I'm going to do kind of freaks me out a little bit. And it's the blending stroke where you fluff up the clouds. And so clouds have several steps that you do every time. So you whatever brush you use, you put the white on it, you make your shapes. Okay? Then you can do whatever else you want to do with if you want to start blending with the first brush you're using, you can. But then you're going to get the blender brush and you're going to do little circles, not touching the top. Then you're going to do this fluff motion going up, right? And then you can do sort of another fluff kind of sideways. And some people call it 2 hairs and some air. But like the whole point is you're barely touching it. And as you do it, if I were to zoom in a later video when I have super skills, I'll zoom in. You'll see there's little parts of this where it kind of took the white of the paint and it kind of moved it in a direction that looks like a little it's like a little I don't know, it's like a smeared paint look. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing up here. You got that smeared paint look happening. And when I first started doing this, I would always get frustrated because I wanted to keep my clean edges. So I was like, I don't want to blend, I want to keep it clean. Well, the thing is, if you don't blend, then your paint is going to take a lot longer to dry. And I don't know, it's part of the technique. So now I've got these splotchy little lines going up off the top, and then if I come back over and kind of take it sideways, then it makes, so whatever you do, it makes the motion of the wind on the clouds, basically. So I've got a motion going up, and I've got a motion going sideways, and then sometimes people will do like a downward motion as well, or even do the up motion again. But the thing is, you don't want to overdo it, because then it gets over blended, and then you don't see clouds anymore. You just see like this light blue thing. So I tend to over blend, and so forgive me for that. So, you know, sometimes I kind of like the over blended look of the clouds. Sometimes they look more natural, but what I'm really trying to learn is, how did Bob do this? And how can I learn that? So now maybe I'll like come down a little bit. So I went up, I went that way, then I went up again, and now this time I'm coming sort of down. So I'm almost like reversing what I already did, just to counteract that like overly splotched look. And then if I really want to, I can blend one more time. So now what I've done is, I've kind of thinned out the paint. I've kind of made some of the clouds look a little more natural, a little more realistic, and like they're blowing in the wind. Now, I don't really particularly like this water down here. There's something about it that's bothering me, so I'm gonna come back over and blend a little more on the water. Being careful not to go back over there to I think it's that little blue thing up here. I still haven't decided if I'm gonna put mountains or whether I'm even gonna keep this water. But I'm gonna stop the video now, and we'll come back on the next one and we'll put in mountains.